John, can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Jeremy?
Yes, sir. Love
All
the
right.
hair.
Hey, John, will you try and share your screen real quick for me? Just something.
Can you see me trying to share screen, Sam?
Good, man. I'm getting ready to start a budget meeting here.
Is it not letting you? Does it say like the host has to let you?
Yeah. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Yeah, so you know how like on the bottom, it's usually got that little thing off to the side where like it says you can allow people to do it. I don't have that on this one for some reason. That's why I was like, I wonder if it's already set that way, like when I set it up.
Yeah.
Anybody out there in Zoom world have any suggestions?
Can Jeremy share his screen?
So when I click it, it goes to share, but it doesn't give me the option to allow others to share. Hey, I found it.
Yay.
Try again, John.
All right. Yeah, it seems like it's going to let me.
Awesome, perfect. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
Hey, is that John McCourt?
Yeah.
I got something on LinkedIn said, do I know you? I'm like,
I won't take it personal if you don't accept it.
I'm just laughing about it, but hey, you doing all right?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well. Doing well. Hey, Sam, are you on here?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, we haven't officially started yet, right?
No, sir.
Okay, I'm on my cell phone, and just FYI, because I'm probably going to be listening and moving around the house at period of time versus just sitting still. So just FYI, if you see me in all kinds of different places, you're not imagining things.
Okay, thank you.
Or if you don't see me at all because the camera's off, you're not imagining things either. But I'm here. I'm here.
Perfect. I don't think we have to see him. There's no voting or anything, so you should be good.
No, I think so too. I'll turn it on here in a little bit, but I'm making my coffee in I love my city coffee cup.
I used the same one today.
And I am wearing Ozark red too. And my cup. How's that?
Ted,
Yes, ma'am.
I want to see all the rooms you go into.
That'd be all right. I might do that.
Okay.
I might do like just to turn on for a little bit as I'm walking from one place to the other. I'm starting out in the kitchen though. Starting out at the kitchen table. May move though, because the sun starts shining in the eyes just a little bit. May move on to the deck. I'll let you know.
chill, get your coffee, grab whatever you need to grab. Rick's on his way in, so just a few minutes.
Hey, Sam, you want to try real quick on the share?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we'll do a test run here.
You good?
Yep, I gotcha.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Jeremy, you know what I think of whenever I hear that?
What?
That Netflix TV series Yellowstone with
Oh, Kevin Costner?
Kevin Costner in it.
Yeah.
He said, "This is America. We don't share land." It's America. We don't share land.
Oh, man. I can watch that show just to see the mountains.
Oh my goodness! If you didn't like anything, I mean, just watch it to see the scenery and everything else. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, Jane got out before they started paving this morning, Jeremy.
Well, good. I went by there about 6:15 and they were already rolling in. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
She got out about 6:50 this morning, and
Yeah.
she said
they
she
were going
made
to
it
start
through.
on the north side,
Okay.
but we got a good day of weather. That took a lot of begging to get them to come in today, but it worked.
Oh, did it really?
Yeah, because they got set back 3 days this week because of the wet weather.
Mm-hmm.
They typically push you back further, as the weather comes in, and
Oh, okay.
we did some serious begging.
Well, way to go.
Well, there wasn't me. It was Miranda and a bunch of us begging. So
Jeremy?
Go ahead.
Jeremy?
Jeremy, can you, yeah.
I know you're having some technical issues there. Do you need us to make a motion to change the order of the agenda, or are you, okay, what?
we're ready to go. I don't know if I see Chris on here. Dave, I think I saw Dave Van Leer.
Dave's on there.
Yes, Jeremy, I'm here.
Okay, you want to wait for Chris and let John do this update on the downtown first, or do you want to roll?
I honestly wasn't sure if he was planning on joining or not, so whatever you
Okay. Okay, that's up to you then, Steve. You tell us what you want.
If we can just keep the agenda the same, if you're ready, that way Dave doesn't have to sit through our whole breakfast meeting.
Yeah, I'm sure he would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, I apologize for being late. Let us go ahead and get started. Chamber, you want to do a roll call vote, please? Or vote, a roll call.
Okay. Alderman Elder,
Here?
Alderman Galloway. Okay. Alderman Flores,
here.
Alderman Smith,
Here.
Alderman Poston,
Here.
Alderman Schaefer. We have 4 aldermen present. We have 4.
All right, let us begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Steve, are you gonna take first or Jeremy or?
I can just lead in like I normally do. Thank you, guys. We're all zooming in, welcome. The first item is sewer and water rates. Now, I know that you heard this the other night, on your agenda, but that was the setting by ordinance of the new user rate so that we had those in place. What we're showing you here, is going to be our entire set of, the way we, have connection fees and things like that. So what we did was while we were going through our sewer master plan and recognizing that this was about 15 years old since we've even gone back to look at this. And we were obviously asked our engineers to do the research to determine whether or not we were still relevant, or some of the fees that we had in place, we don't even do anymore. They were antiquated, they were very out of date. So during this whole master planning process, we went back, we had public works and planning work together and go through and reestablish those connections to our water and sewer system and how we're going to be dealing with that going forward. So I just wanted to kind of lay that out there. This is in conjunction with and part of the sewer master plan and everything we're doing. Now we're bringing everything up to date. When someone goes to planning and development, this is the sheet they will see. So Jeremy, take it away.
Okay. Steve, for leading into that. I'm going to share my screen right now, and we'll just kind of toggle through this presentation. As Steve said, this has been a long study, a good study. We've got a lot of data. One of the things that transpired throughout this was we talked to everybody, stakeholders, developers, community members, community leaders, you all. One of the things that kept coming up was that our impact fees seemed somewhat archaic, if you will. So while we were doing this study, we thought, what better time to look at our impact fees? And also, a lot of you remember that back about 1.5 years ago, we released a study called Ozark by the Numbers. And the goal of this study was to attempt to quantify the true cost of impact on the city of Ozark. And by that, I mean, when somebody comes into the city and builds a building, be it single family or multifamily, what is the impact associated with that development? So we started diving into this, and I'll hand it over to Dave Van Leer here in a minute. Before I want to give it a little more preface here, but Dave Van Leer is the one that did a significant amount of this study in an attempt to quantify this. So at the last meeting, the last retreat that we had, we talked a lot about understanding the true cost, and I'm just going to fly through these. But the long and short of it is, when a new building comes into Ozark, we're already upside down the minute they come in. Financially, we are upside down because they are not paying for the true cost of the impact that development has on the city of Ozark, and specifically the utilities. So we made that case last time, and we were kind of making a case for density and how that can help the return on investment or offset the cost somewhat. We also showed you all that, Ozark's unique. Our costs are much more inflated than other communities, and that's just because of the way we grew. We are a case study in sprawl, and we're doing our best with the cards we've been dealt, but we know that based upon the amount of infrastructure that we have out there, it takes a significant amount of money to maintain and operate that because we're so spread out. So I want to show you what we currently have in terms of our impact fee schedule. We are currently under an ordinance, a sewer connection fee ordinance that was put in place back when we actually did the main bonds back in 2006. The bonds occurred in 2005. I think we put this into place in 2005, 2006, and they're currently scheduled to go up by 3.5% on January 1st each year. Right now, that rate calculates out to $2,190 roughly. So we wanted to take this a little bit further and identify, hey, is that impact fee paying for the impact on our sewer system? So Ozark by the numbers, this is where we got into it. And this was, Steve can attest to this, this was challenging. Trying to quantify the true impact on development is a very difficult number to come up with. But I think we did an excellent job in identifying a study area. We used the comprehensive plan. We were going through the comprehensive planning process at that time, so we had a lot of new data as well. But we narrowed it down to sanitary sewer, water, and transportation. So those are the big three. Those are the big three that are extremely costly and very expensive to maintain. We did this by identifying the developable areas. We studied the demands. We've got a large area of potential housing and commercial development. We took a number that's a fairly universal number across the board, 2.3 homes per acre. And then after all this study, we came up with a number, we quantified a number that includes, again, sanitary sewer, potable water production, storage, and main distribution, and transportation improvements. Now, I want Dave to kind of get into a brief summary of how we came up with those numbers. So Dave, if you can take over, it'd be much appreciated.
Sure. Thanks, Jeremy. What Jeremy is describing is exactly what we did. We looked at growth areas throughout the city, assuming a certain density in those growth areas project to see. And then from there, we have to look at the infrastructure it would take to serve those homes. And on the water system, we're looking at things like elevated storage tanks, wells, and your distribution system, the piping that you have to put in the ground. It's fairly easy to quantify how many homes can be served by a well and how many homes can be served by storage tank. And then also, we know what this infrastructure is going to cost based on past work that we've done and past work that the city's done. So if you take that infrastructure cost divided by the number of homes that infrastructure can serve, you can come up with a per home cost. Very similarly, we did the same thing on the sanitary sewer. On the sewer, we're looking at treatment plants, lift stations, gravity sewer, your entire collection system, and same process there. Each home uses up a portion of your treatment plant and your other sewer facilities. And if you can quantify how many homes a facility can serve, and the cost of that facility, you can therefore determine the cost per home of that infrastructure. So that was generally the approach taken in Ozark by the numbers. And as Jeremy said, some of this was challenging. Some of these things are easy to quantify. We know how, on average, we know how much sewage a home in Ozark produces. We know how many gallons per day your treatment plant can treat, and we know what the cost of a treatment plant is. So you can fairly easily back into a cost per home number. And then lastly, I think the focus today is on water and sewer, but as Jeremy said, we also looked at your roads. For the roads, we looked at the master plan that City of Ozark has in place, and looked at the major streets, the collectors and arterials that wouldn't necessarily be built by developers as subdivisions come in. It would be major upgrades that would probably have to be taken on by the city or some type of a cooperative agreement with developers. So I guess the result of what I would say the result of Ozark by the numbers is we came up with a impact fee or a price per home for water, sewer, and transportation. Now, from there, Jeremy asked us to get into reviewing the city's existing water and sewer impact fees. And we went about this from a number of different angles. One of the things we looked at was Ozark by the numbers. You know, that's a really good starting point to try to make sure the city's recapturing the investment that you're putting into your infrastructure. You know, we also looked at rates of surrounding communities, and then also looked at what the city's current rates were, and you know how that would compare if we made some of these changes. So I think Jeremy's got the current and proposed water and sewer fees up there. So you'll see we are proposing a fair increase on these. And essentially the base fee that you're looking at there is based off the Ozark by the numbers study. The proposed fees, you know, the results of Ozark by the numbers showed that the infrastructure to serve one home costs approximately $1,700, and the sewer infrastructure to serve one home approximately $2,500. So on the table Jeremy has up here, you'll see those same numbers translated into that chart under the 5/8 meter size. Another change we're looking at is the sewer impact fees would be based off of the water meter size. And we would expect there to be a direct correlation there. The larger the meter you have, the more water you're going to use, and thus the more sewage you're going to send into the city system and use up capacity in that system. From the 5/8 meter, we tried to increase proportionately to the increase in water we would expect from those larger meters. That wasn't an exact calculation. It's not exactly a 1-to-1 ratio going from a 5/8 to a 1 inch. We increased as we went up in size, and then we also adjusted those to try to keep them reasonable, closer to in line with what a current development would pay. For instance, if they came in on a 2-inch meter. Here recently, you've had a lot of businesses come in, new developments, restaurants, I think were a few of them that had 2-inch meters. This new structure that we've developed fairly closely replicates what the impact fees were for those developments. Previously, sewer impact fees were calculated based off of a kind of a cumbersome calculation that included number of sinks, number of toilets, number of floor drains. I think one of the things Jeremy pointed out specifically was, you know, the way car washes were written, it was based on a number of bays, and in general, car washes aren't being built that more anyway. They're an automatic process, and your code, as Jeremy said, it just kind of become archaic. So I think that's kind of a summary of how we got to where we are and developed this structure. Jeremy, is there anything I didn't cover that you'd like me to touch on?
No, I think I think you nailed it. You know, like I said, this is a large study, and I know that Steve and staff, we've been, you know, looking at the true impact of development on our community for a long time. And I know that message has penetrated, because I hear the alderman talking about, well, single family, you know, we're already behind the gun as soon as they come in. And our goal here is we're not trying to make money. We're trying to offset our costs. We're trying to recoup. And if we're going to practice what we've been preaching about single family, then we at least need to break even on water and sewer. And that's what this does. I will say there was another goal within this process, And it's something that we've heard from a lot of developers, specifically multifamily developers, saying that the cost for multifamily in Ozark is just completely out of line in terms of with other surrounding communities. So when we went back and re-examined this based on meter size, we quickly found out that yes, we were well above others. We did a case study. Right now you're looking at Embassy Apartments. Dan Servin built this back in 2016, right up next to James River. So that was our most recent example of a true R4 development. And that's saying something right there. Before 2016, our last R4 was 2009. It took 7 years before we saw another R4. And then that I can honestly say that that development was only done because of the relationship that Dan had with James River and their school. They were able to make the numbers work because the cost of this, well, let's just say when you put the impact fees in there per living unit as opposed to by the meter size, it significantly ramps up the cost and you can't pencil out the numbers. And this is not an attempt to, go wild with R4 and multifamily. It's an attempt to level the playing field. And R4 does serve a purpose in the community. Cameron and I have talked about this structure and the impact fees and the lack of R4. Guys, our median household income in Ozark, as you know, is higher than the surrounding communities. But the people that work in Ozark, and I'll just mention a few. I'm talking city staff, I'm talking school staff. It is very difficult to buy a $300,000 quote starter home. So multifamily has a role in good planning. Again, we don't want to get that balance off. And Steve and I talk about that a lot, as well as with Cameron and John. There's a balance there. But this entire thing, we're making the case for density. We're trying to increase the efficiencies of our existing infrastructure, and we're trying to level the playing field. And as David alluded to earlier, that impacts certain developments in certain ways. We've got several examples here of McDonald's under the old system and under the new system, come and go. But we honestly feel that this is by far the most appropriate way to gauge and charge for the impact. So yes, we see some lowering on the multifamily side. We see a fairly large increase on the single family side, but we've known for years that single family has not been paying for itself in the impact alone. So it didn't surprise us at all to see that the true impact was on a 5/8 meter is $1,700, and the true impact of tapping into our sewer is $2,506. Didn't surprise us at all. It did surprise us that when we were looking at the multifamily, that those bulk meters, if you will, the larger meters, the 3-inch and 4-inch, we were, by charging per unit, we were overcharging on, or potentially overcharging on the impact fees. So again, trying to level the playing field. And I know Steve has had several conversations with multifamily developers. Again, this isn't about pleasing any one constituent or any one group of builders. This is about just doing what's right. This study, I'll summarize with this. This study, the master plan and Ozark by the numbers, has shown what we need to bring in to appropriately pay for the impacts and the user fees. We now have those numbers. We now have that data. And what we're presenting to you here is the most fair and most equitable way to charge developers for that impact. And with that, I'll let Steve pick up on that if you'd like, and I'll stop sharing the screen here. I think you're muted, Steve.
Okay, no, go.
I'm sorry, you've heard us talk about this for a few years now. And Ozark by the Numbers was our research project. And the research project was simply wanting to put to rest some of those old fallacies that we've heard before, like, you know, multifamily and how that could be bad. And we know that when we set our new connection rate, it indirectly, it wasn't on purpose, but it indirectly stifled multifamily and senior development growth. I mean, it just did. Again, we're just bringing this to you to show you what the real situation is. It's a policy decision and a legislative decision on whether or not the Board of Aldermen wants to modify these things. We're just telling you what the pros and cons are and what the facts are as it relates to what's really going on. And so we're trying to bring you the facts so that you can make the best decisions that you can and be able to, I guess, implement some of the things that we've been talking about in all of our breakfast meetings and our retreats and stuff about density, getting heads in beds, reducing the cost of development to the taxpayers that live here, such as myself and the city. I mean, those are the kind of things that we wanted to bring to you. And so what you do with this information is what you do, but this is the real story. And, you know, it really is just really up to you and a policy decision. So anyway, I'll leave it at that.
Ted?
Thank you, Your Honor. Is there a connection, and excuse me if I should know this answer and I'm just ignorant to it, but is there a connection between our annual fee study and the water and sewer impact fees? I mean, meaning is that if we set our annual fee studies for this is the cost of providing the services, does the water and sewer not fit into that same methodology? I mean, do we have more discretion, I guess is what I'm saying, on that than we do other things?
In the past, Alderman Smith, this has been dictated by that ordinance that we showed earlier in the, and that was put into place back when we did all that bonding. So when we do that yearly fee study, this hasn't been part of that consideration in the past because it had been tied to the bond documents for the sewer upgrades we did, you know, well over a decade ago. But what we found out is that we've gone in and looked at the bond transcripts, and there's no obligation to keep them on the current schedule that they're at, that 3.5% increase. So we decided to treat water and sewer just like we treat our other fees that we charge for, be it a fence permit, be it a, you know, you name it, pool permit. We put in what it actually cost because, as you know, we can only recoup our cost. Permits and fees are there to recoup what the administration is doing or the impact that it has on us. So in summary, no, we have not had it tied to our annual fees, but in this case, that may open the door for it because we could annually decide, okay, yeah, I mean, with inflation alone and with continued growth, that impact fee is not a number that's going to stay constant. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we never did the research and never really had a model that we could use like we have now, which is Ozark by the Numbers. We never asked our engineers to put together that. So we really didn't have any way to evaluate that on an annual basis because we didn't know how. So now that we've gone through and we've created a model to say, well, if you were going to try to really recoup the real cost, what are the steps you would go through to do that? What data do you need? And so we had to go through the Ozark by the number process to even know how to even do that. So we really weren't ready to do that. Amanda, I saw you click off there, and I know that you probably have some really good things to say about Ted's question. Did you have anything that you could add to this for us?
I was just going to clarify that this type of fee would not be included typically in a fee study. It can certainly be brought forward at the same time, but it's actually it's not the same concept as the fee study is generally. And so those should be kept separate.
Thank you. Bruce?
I had two observations to make. One, and this may have been made before I was logged in, is how well this seems to dovetail with Cameron Smith's presentation at the retreat, where he presented examples of results of codes that I think he intends to develop, where single family dwellings are densely put together and then mixed with townhomes and even apartments can be made part of a larger complex. And it seemed to me that the policy that we're considering with the sewer impact fees, water fees, would encourage that. It would put a lot of onus on the developer to build quite a few dwellings within a smaller space to make more money, and would also encourage multifamily development. That would be fine as long as we have Cameron's codes in place, because otherwise people might conceive of something different. And that was my second point. It would seem to me that we would want to communicate to the public, not right away, but in some way to show where we're heading with our policies. And I think that if they saw the kinds of drawings that Cameron showed us, you would have a lot of buy-in from the public. It'd be hard to explain how one relates to the other, but I think if in general, the sooner that we adopt codes that can get us the kinds of developments Cameron spoke of, the better, because it's easier to communicate, what it is we're trying to do.
Jeremy, I've got a question for you. Would you please go back to the slide on single family that shows what the current fee is and what the proposed fee is? I didn't get that written down fast enough.
So, Mr. Mayor, this is just water and sewer impact. The other fees that are associated with a residential building permit were not included in this. And this was a surprising number, but again, when we went back and we knew what our task was to try to quantify the true impact. And again, this is just water and sewer. Transportation is not in there. That's something that I feel like a lot of communities are tackling with impact fees. Same with parks. We've got a park impact fee for final platting, but there's true cost associated with this stuff. And if we were to want to get single family to just come in and pay their share, that's what that $4,200 is, just on water and sewer. And I know that's kind of a, let's say, eye-raising number or a eye-popping number, but
well, we need to know what the actual costs are. Now, going back to the current, there's obviously a mistake there in the impact fee. It's not 22,000. Do you have an extra 2 in there?
Oh, shoot. Yes, I do. Sorry. The comma's in the right place. There you go.
Yeah, so it's 2189. Okay, well, just for curiosity, and I may be the only one that thinks this, I know that we need to break even on these, or we would certainly like to. But for the purposes of discussion with current developers that have plats approved or in the process, as well as new developers, I would at least like to see a number of what the current cost would be to get a permit for parks or the actual building permit, the impact fees, the total cost for a single family home now versus proposed. I don't know if you have that. I know we're not going to act on this today, But at the point that we do, I think we need to see that, because that's what a developer is gonna see. It's gonna be hard for a developer or a builder to break this out and say, well, this one's okay, that one's not. They're gonna look at the total package, and they're gonna say, this is good, this is bad, this is fair, whatever. So I, just knowing that down the road, I would like to see that total number.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll get with Cameron and we'll do a side-by-side comparison of what that would look like.
Amanda,
Wait a minute, RJ had a question.
I'm sorry.
RJ, go ahead.
I was just curious when we calculate like for the sewer and stuff and the water, the fees on that, are we just taking into account what it costs to build the facility, or is it what it takes to maintain it, or is it a combination of both?
So it's essentially the cost associated with it, because user rates are used to help offset the operations cost. So that's what we did, was we took that total area that was to be developed, and if we had to run infrastructure to all those, the developable land, we came up with a engineered, or a cost estimate, I should say, because it's such a broad cost. And then we divided that by the total amount of developable acres. But the long and short of it is, this would pay for the impact on the larger system. The sewer rates that we just discussed Monday night pay for the operations and maintenance on a daily basis.
Gotcha. I see. Thank you.
Yep.
I might ask, just the other day I heard Chris Boone from Cochrane explain it, and I know David can explain the same thing. David, I'm just gonna ask you, I won't get this right. When you're looking at the connection fees, what Chris was saying is you really have to look at the user fees as the operations and the maintenance and the ongoing costs of those types of things. But the connection fees are more directly related to the loss in capacity. And if you were actually going to try to come up with a real number for loss of capacity in your lines and your treatment plant and that sort of thing, he said your sewer connection fee would be $20,000. You'd never be able to truly recapture that capacity that's lost, because the cost of building more capacity, such as a treatment plant, could be 20, 30, 40, $50 million. So am I saying that right? I just want to make sure I am, just so maybe it helps the Board of Aldermen.
Yeah, Stephen, another way I've heard it said, and I think I've heard Chris say it before, is, you're almost buying your part of the system with impact fees. If a treatment plant can serve 1,000 homes, as each one of those 1,000 homes hook on, they should pay their percentage of it that they're using. And once that treatment plant's at capacity, the impact fees have almost recouped the cost of that plant, and it puts you in a better position to then expand your infrastructure so that you can continue to grow as a city.
Thank you. That analogy just helps me. It makes sense when you talk about capacity and what that really means, and in relationship to the connection fee and what you're really getting for that and why you're charging. So
then I think the easiest examples of infrastructure to visualize that in are treatment plants, water storage tanks, and then wells. I mean, they have a given capacity that they have a certain number of homes that they can provide service to. That's a lot of the basis of Ozark numbers was based on that type of infrastructure and the number of homes it can serve.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
All right.
So we'll follow this back up and we'll get you guys just the cost of that. Amanda, I had one more question, and I'm kind of going to direct this to you. Even though we've done the research and we've identified what the real costs are in Ozark by the numbers, did I state it correctly that even though we're looking at these potential increases, to get to where we're actually recouping the real cost. It is a policy decision that is totally up to the board to make, whether they want to recoup the full amount of the cost or less than full amount of the cost, just not more than the cost. Is that correct?
I think what you're stating is correct. I mean, you're going to run in, this is kind of separate outside of the analysis you would do for a typical fee study, because you're providing a service if you're talking about the actual service, service provided.
Right.
But it may warrant looking at your question through the perspective of the state statutes that govern it, and then the Hancock Amendment, because I think what you're stating is accurate, but I'm not quite sure I understand your question.
That's okay. I just, it's like any fee. You say, we've done research, here's the study. We have deemed that the real cost should be this for a connection fee to the system because of the example we just gave of purchasing capacity, whatever that is. And the Board of Aldermen could say, well, I understand that, but after I look at the total amount of the building permit and I compare that to the other cities, I don't want to be so much higher than all the other cities that we're no longer competitive and therefore we lose the ability to be able to do anything. So I think there's a balance here in that I think it's very important that we know the real cost. So it's something that we can strive for, and it's something we can have a conversation with the development community. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that the board isn't going to desire to find that balance between those two things, which is remaining competitive from an economic development standpoint and trying to recoup what is necessary or as close as you can to that.
I think if I understand you right, what you're saying is that the board can choose to not collect the full amount to make the city whole in that regard. And so, yeah, that's always a policy decision for the board. The big factor there would be just making sure that the impact of the development, the amount charged isn't going to exceed the impact of the development on the service. So you just want to make sure that that's reflective of that.
Yes, thank you. That is where I was going.
Okay. Sorry for my confusion.
That's okay. That's all I had. I just wanted to get that out there, and that's what these breakfast meetings are for, is to discuss and listen and learn and bring our research to you guys so that you can figure out how you want to go from here. So.
All right, Samantha.
All right, let me share
All right.
All right. Let me share my screen, guys. No, I don't. No, I don't. It's all good.
You not want to be on screen.
That doesn't matter. That's all good.
You're speaking.
Oh, that's really intense. Hang on. I can't go that intense. Let's go here.
Or maybe if you're going to be sharing your screen, you don't need.
That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna share my
I'm sorry.
screen, so it doesn't matter. Can you hear me the microphone a little closer to me? Thanks.
Big blue down there.
All right, guys, can you guys see my screen? Anybody? RJ, thank you. Okay, so this shouldn't take very long. I basically just wanted to run you through what COVID has done to the OC and Parks Department in terms of 2020 revenues and kind of where we are and where we're planning on finishing 2020, and then how that's going to impact 2021. There we go. Sorry, I'm using Prezi and I haven't used it in a minute, so takes me a second to remember. Okay, so I wanted to kind of start with running you guys through the programs that we offer. Dylan is our aquatics and fitness director, so that's why this is like this. This is our aquatics budget right now. You can see swim lessons. While you're looking at this, just take into account that this is all the revenue for the entire year of 2019, but it's only revenue to date for 2020. So it doesn't include all of October, November, and December. So obviously those numbers will kind of go up. The massage is still down because due to COVID, our massage therapist just decided that she didn't want to do it anymore. And then until it kind of calms back down, we probably won't get someone hired. So that'll be sort of what it is. And that's massage and personal training. People weren't wanting to kind of sign up for that as much as they were before COVID happened. So as you can kind of see, those programs were okay. I think they'll make up the differences, and we should end up being pretty well back on track with our aquatics and fitnesses stuff, again, besides massage, because we lost that revenue. Okay, so this one is our events. So birthday parties, anybody that rents the OC, you know, Rotary, room rentals, weddings, anything like that. Outdoor pool parties did pretty well. The outdoor pool actually fund did really well this year. We usually expect to make around 22,000 for like admissions. And I think we were closer to 29 this year. So it actually did really well. And then park facility rentals did really well this year too, because we added the $5 fee to rent the pavilions because we were taking staff's time to get them reserved and all that stuff. So, and then everyone was trying to do outside events. So that made a big difference too. So birthday parties kind of took a hit. You can see that last year we made 58. Right now we're sitting at 37. And that was, she did hers January to September and then January through September. So we're actually comparing where we were last year at this time versus where we were this year at this time. So we've got birthday parties that are down a little, outdoor parties aren't doing too terrible, OC rentals are down, and then park facility rentals are way up. So that kind of shows where that's at. Okay, so recreation. This program is run by Hayden, and he has another girl, a new recreation assistant, and she's starting next week. So you can kind of see our program numbers. I wanted to show you the last 4 years in terms of this one so that you could kind of see a trend. So if you really want to just compare last year to this year, you're looking at the gray and the yellow. We were one of the only summer camps that went ahead this year and pushed forward with offering that to parents. We had a lot of kids and we did really, really well. I think I can't say enough about the staff because they worked really hard. We checked temperatures. We did everything we could to keep it safe. And I feel really proud of them that we didn't have any COVID cases. We didn't spread anything. And the kids had a safe place to go, and it took that pressure off of the parents. Summer camp did really well. The OTRA number is on the road again trips. Obviously we had to stop that because it was seniors. So we had to stop from about March until I think we just had a trip about 2 weeks ago. So we're starting that back up. Again, these numbers will kind of come back up because we've still got two more months and 2 more programs that we'll be able to have. Dance and cheer did okay. AKC is the after school care program. We're pretty close to where we were last year. It's pretty consistent. Kids Night In is our Friday night program that you can drop your kids off while you go on a date night or do whatever. And as you can see, that's pretty consistent. And then our Kids Day Off program is down. Kids Day Off program is when there's no school. And so since there was no school March through May, we obviously didn't have those revenues for that. So that program was down as well. Okay, so sports program. Sports program actually surprisingly did okay. So boys basketball starts in January. So this would have been pre-COVID. Phil did want me to preface this 243 that was last year. He said it was like an anomaly. He said just a random couple teams came from out of there, but we usually hover right around 200. So it's not like it was down. We are actually about exactly where we always are, which is right near 200 kids in the program. Spring volleyball was a program that we actually had to cancel. As you can see, we would have been up and we jumped our numbers. We lost all the registration revenue plus any gate receipts. We had already purchased the t-shirts, but we held that out of the refunds that we had to do because we gave them all their t-shirts. So we just held just the cost of it out so that those people could have that. And then we did save some money, obviously, through salaries and awards and that stuff. And then the same thing goes for soccer. We jumped up with numbers, but we had one week of practice, and then we ended up having to cancel that program because of COVID. So the kids all had gotten their shirts, and we did the best we could, but we did lose quite a bit of revenue from soccer. But again, like I said, we didn't have as much expenses either. So
Well, you've got fall soccer.
we do have fall soccer, and it is, I think we are up a few kids with our fall program. So it helps, but like I said, spring is our very large program. Like if you didn't want to lose anything, that would be the one I would say, hey, that's kind of our thing is spring soccer. Baseball, we were already in the process of registering whenever COVID hit. So we had 35 players request refunds. So we lost a few players, but still not terrible. And then softball, we had 15 people back out. Fall volleyball, we're kind of on track about where we are. Fall soccer, still, like I said, we're down a few, but nothing terrible. And then our girls basketball program's back up a little. I do kind of want to just call out that there are a lot of kids. You see all these kids that played spring volleyball, 160 and then 434. We had 3 staff, Marissa, Brittany, and Phil had to refund every single solitary one of them. So you have to go through the system and push it back on their card. And so that was a lot of work for them to try and figure that out. If they paid with cash, we had to go track down their address, get them a card. Every single one of those people had to be called to tell them that the refund's coming back or how. So that's, if you guys were wondering, like, what are they doing over there while it's closed? Well, that was one of the things, was making refunds, because that's a lot of people to have to call and deal with their money and contacts and stuff. So I just kind of want to mention that was a lot of work for them. Okay, Silver Sneakers program. Our Silver Sneakers program is something we've had like 10 years. I mean, it's been a long time. I don't know if we had it right when we opened, but. Okay, so Marissa says that we added a few years after. I've been here for a while now and everything's starting to blend together. So Marissa's my timeline. So it's something that we added. Obviously with Silver Sneakers, it's a lot of it's an older generation, but yes, there are some people who have their insurance covers it. So a lot of them will have like some sort of issue, I guess, because of the type of insurance. And so they pay for their membership. So, but how we get paid is we get $3 per visit. Yeah, $3 per visit per person that comes in. And because we were closed in April and May, you can see our revenue down for June. Because it runs 2 months behind. So we have to submit our stuff to them, then they pay us. So it's always 2 months behind. So it looks like we were doing fine, but in terms of, like you can see June where it's really down, that would have been April, and July would have been May. And since we opened the first part of May, we did have some revenue for that, but it is drastically down, and we're starting to like come back, but we're still not there yet. A lot of seniors are still choosing not to participate or come into the facility at this time. So our Silver Sneakers revenue is down. Okay, so daily fees. Daily fees are anytime someone is not a member of the facility and they decide that they want to come in and just be a guest or use the facility. They sign a waiver, and then basically we allow them into the facility. Our biggest months usually for daily fees are March during spring break week, April and May, and we had 0 revenue because we were closed during that time. We didn't allow, when we opened back up, we didn't allow guests in the facility until middle of June. So that's why there's just a little bit of revenue in June, and then we're starting to try and make our way back up and fill those gaps. But we couldn't allow guests in the facility because we were trying to keep it limited in the space, not have a bunch of guests come in and then our members not have enough space when we opened back up in the phases. So we lost a lot of revenue with just daily fees. It was tough with the March thing because spring break week was the first week that we decided to shut down. So that was a little bit rough on us. Okay, so this is a little chart showing our membership for, this is 2019 versus 2020. I left the rest of the year so you could kind of see where it was and where we're kind of going. But as you can see, we took a kind of a nosedive. We run the reports at the first of every month. We run the reports, so you can kind of see where we nosedive. You can see exactly where COVID hit and just shattered us. So, okay. This is another one that's just kind of showing 2017 through 2020. We kind of stay right in that same trend. We're somewhere between 4,000 to 5,000 members, and that's how we know it trends through the year. You can see where it dips down. We're almost always about the same, but yeah, like I said, May was very rough on us. So, okay. So what why am I telling you all this besides just, you know, educational purposes? So this is exactly where we are. Marissa, what did we pull? When did you pull this? Do you remember?
This is updated through yesterday.
Okay, so this number is updated through yesterday. I think I just got this out. We are budgeted to make 635 this year, and we would have to have some really good November and December if we were going to make that. But we've done a really, really good job of putting on the brakes with our expenses, and then we have some staff costs. So I think we'll end up being okay. It's just what you have to remember is when someone signs an annual contract, they can do it two ways. They can either do an auto draft and they sign it for 12 months. So for 12 months in a row, we are going to draft them out of their account. The other option is they pay for a full, they pay annually all up front. So they give us the full funds and then they get 12 months of membership. So what we were doing, instead of having to, people were calling and wanting to cancel their memberships, and we said, we will put it on hold for you and not draft you, or not, we will extend your membership more based off of, you know, if you cancel it for 3 months, we'll give you 3 months, we'll push it into 2021. So basically what we've done is we've just shifted the entire thing, and the longer it goes, the harder it is, and it starts to, it'll start to impact 2021 as well, because we won't be getting the revenue. Like if they usually bought it in May, and then they would renew in May, then they won't renew until September or December. And so like obviously we want COVID to end, but we're trying to figure out how that's going to impact 2021 as well. So one of the things that we think might help, and I think that this is probably a decent idea, is I will probably try and bring we're not planning on doing a fees up next year because we just did them this year. But we were thinking about offering a kind of like a special at some point, and I'll have to work with Amanda to get how that will work, like a fee study for 1 month or whatever. But basically what I want to do is say in 2021, which is almost in May, it is always our largest month because that's when we open. So we have the most amount of people who renew in that month. We want to offer, basically, if you buy an annual membership or you sign up for an auto draft for 12 months, we want to give you 1 month for free, just to try and push people to get back in and to try and let them, you know, try and get them to commit back to us. And that way it will help balance that budget. And we think it'll really help with getting us kind of back on track. And we're trying to do it in May when we have renewal. And then it's also hopefully the flu season and everything's kind of died down and people feel a little bit more comfortable. We've done them, you know, around Christmas time, we've talked about it, and a lot of gyms do them in January, trying to get people to join at the new year. I just don't think the timing is right with COVID and everything. I think that we should wait until May and think about considering doing some sort of membership special. So I don't know what you guys think about that, but that's kind of something that I wanted to bring forward for next year.
That's a good idea.
I think so. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about, let me stop sharing my screen for you guys so you can see us in here. Okay. So does anybody have any questions?
How is the mask ordinance going to affect you?
I don't know, Marissa, what do you think? What are we hearing?
I was actually shocked to see that people were happy and following the rules, and it didn't seem like it had slowed down the last couple of days to me. So people wearing it in, you know, doing their thing. And
I think a lot of people, you know, as a parent that comes here and utilizes the services, and you know, you watch your kids out there playing and stuff like that, and they're all out there, but as parents, you get a little squeamish, and you'll see some people that don't have it on and so forth. But when I'm sitting in the stands, I'm wearing my mask, and I think it almost makes people feel a little bit more comfortable. Makes people feel a little bit more comfortable that everybody is wearing the mask. I realize we'll have those that just, you know, are adamant against it. I mean, we all know that. But this thing for me, what I've noticed and what I've seen is that those that are coming here, they're logical, they're friendly, they're happy, they're looking at watching their kids and doing their thing, and they'll sit with the mask on if they need to, or wear it to their point of exercise, and then, you know, do their thing and leave. So I don't know, that's been my experience of practice.
I think with the exemption of them not having to have it on while they worked out was the ticket to the whole entire thing. It allows us to continue with our programs. People can still work out and I think they feel comfortable, and then they can socially distance as they need to. And we've got extra staff wiping down machines still. So to me, the big ticket was making sure that they weren't forced to wear it while they were exercising. And I think that that's made all the difference for us.
Okay, good.
Any other questions, guys? Want to know
Everybody's
anything?
okay with the plan that you have and launching a campaign?
So I'll bring forward, is that correct, Amanda? Do I have to bring like a fee study for like a temporary 1 month thing?
No, I think there's a way we can do I think there's a way that we can incorporate that just based on the rate that you'll be charging them.
Okay. Does anybody have any, like, you think this is a terrible idea, I shouldn't do it?
No, Samantha, I think it's a good idea. Sounds good.
Thank you, Heather.
Okay.
RJ, thumbs up.
Yeah,
Me,
I do
certainly.
appreciate it, guys. It's been tough. The staff worked really hard while we were closed to make sure we were busy, and so we're doing the best we can, and I think we're gonna be all right and be able to balance our budget, and I think next year this will help get us on track. So I appreciate your guys' support. Thank you.
I think it's a fantastic plan. Like I said, I think it's great.
All right, Steve or Jeremy, who's next?
I'll introduce this. We're gonna have John give you guys an update. I know that you have, obviously seen lots of presentations about the downtown and our capital improvement plan. And you know what is going to happen, or you know the big picture of what's gonna happen. But the Public Works Department we have spent literally 24 to 36 months figuring out how to dot the i's and cross the t's and get ready just to put new streets in downtown. It is amazing the work and the amount of investment that we have made from a water and sewer infrastructure improvement standpoint. And John's going to talk a little bit about that, but now we're getting into the detail. Now we're going to start really affecting people's daily experience in downtown, the business owners, the direction of traffic, getting into the parking, the striping. All these details are going to start coming up because we're going to kick this thing off at the beginning of the year. And I just want John to show you what we have done and how we've been preparing for this, and just how much improvement we've made in a water and sewer standpoint and the other things. So, John, take them to the next step and let them know where we're going from here. John,
Everybody hear me?
we can now. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so like Steve said, I know you guys have had a lot of presentations about this particular project, but we just want to keep you updated because it's such a major project going on in the heart of our community. So you've heard Jeremy say in the past that phase one is like setting the table, or it's the foundation of what we're trying to do here. There's a lot of infrastructure. Some of this stuff is dated back to 70 years ago. And currently this is a list of all the infrastructure that we're trying to repair or replace downtown. Now, the only one that's completed right now is the 3rd Street connection, and that was the one that was going down 3rd Street on the west side of the road. So that project is complete. Right now we're working in phases to complete the other items on this list, and you'll see a lot of road closed signs, some detours and things of that nature downtown, and that's the cause of all this new infrastructure going in place. Now this new infrastructure, here's some pictures of things going on. Now this may not excite most, but it's very exciting to Public Works because we know how important this is. I mean, once this is covered up, no, it won't be a second thought to most, but we know that this is to everything going on downtown. This is going to provide better water, better sewer, stormwater, all these things to downtown that we have lacked for so many years. And right now we've spent $1.4 million in infrastructure and improvements in 2020. That's a lot, but that's an exciting thing, and we're glad we're doing this project right. There's no fear of us having to come back and tear out a road in 3 years or 5 years and do all this work on the top just so we can come up and tear it up, and then we have patches, and it was all for naught if that's not what we did here. So if you see a lot of this going on, that's just the project in motion, and we're very excited about it. And we couldn't have done it with everybody, and so we're just really excited about it. If you see this truck right here, I don't know if I can zoom in if you guys can see this. This is the CIPP. We get a lot of calls about this. It creates a little bit of an odor. So if you see or hear of people saying, I smell glue in my building or outside, that's just a CIPP process. It's not harmful or anything like that. It's very common. But there's a lot of smoke rolling out of the manholes. It's kind of, you don't see it every day. So we get a lot of questions and comments about it. If anybody has any, please direct them towards us. And we have flyers that we hand out and get them all the information they need on that. And that's something very important about this project, is getting the information out to the public, the residents, the business owners. So the phasing that we're doing as we go through this project, we're currently in phase 2, the blue, which is like Hall Street, 2nd, 1st Street, 2nd Street. We're hoping to be in the phase 3 in the next week or two, which is the green. And the way we're notifying the public is we go out a couple weeks before the next phase starts. And what we do is we hang door hangers. We blast it across social media with the help of Sam and Brooke, and just get as much information to the public, let them know what's coming, that there's going to be roads closed and things of that nature. Because I know that this is very impactful to some of these people downtown, but again, it's all worth it, and it's just growing pains. And I think once it's complete, everybody's going to be very happy with it. One thing that we've started doing is we have put out these door flyers with these QR codes. Now, if you, excuse me, these QR codes, I don't know if you're familiar with them. What you can do is take your camera on your cell phone and just wave it over this barcode right here, and that will give you a link. And you just press on that link, and it'll take you right to our webpage with our interactive map, and tell you all the updates and timelines for everything going on in that project. We've got a lot of good feedback from that. We really like that. We're going to use that in the future on all our projects. So we're very excited about that. I know it's kind of weird to sound like a barcode is exciting, but it is for us. So
John, I have to say something. I just want to say that I know that Sam would tell you I'm a technological dork, and I probably am, but this Q code, that is just cool, okay? When they showed me this, you can wave your phone over that and you will get more information than you ever dreamed about. Water lines, sewer lines, and this project. It is so easy. And it's something that, well, our newest member over at Public Works came up with, our GIS specialist, and now our floodplain administrator, Amber. And it's just great that we can bring forward this new technology. It's so simple. We're going to actually have signs around the square that are going to say, and this was John's idea about the look at our vision, that you can wave that. So if somebody's visiting downtown and they can say, well, what in the world's going on? And they wave their phone over it, you're going to get to see the vision of downtown. So I just think you guys really knocked it out of the park there from a communication standpoint.
Well,
I just want to say that.
there is a bigger dork than him, and that's me. Do you have to turn your camera on? Okay.
Yes.
Turn your camera on and then wave it. Okay.
Yeah, like if you were going to take a picture of that QR code, you will wave it in front of there. You don't have to take the picture, but once you wave it over there, it registers, and then a link will pop up. And something else that we're going to do is I feel like videos are the best way to communicate sometimes on something like this with the public, because I'm 39 years old and I honestly didn't know much about QR codes, so this was new to me. So I think getting a video and explaining to the public how to utilize these QR codes as they're coming downtown, so they're not just like, what is that on that sign? They see one, they know what they can do, and they can get that information quickly and effectively. But I think Heather had a question.
And John, is this on a door hanger? Is this?
Yes, ma'am.
a
Yes.
handout?
Yes. So we went around as we go through each of these phases, we will hit every 2 weeks, hit a new phase and pass these out to the residents and business owners for downtown.
Can we get some of those as well?
You bet. Yes, we have quite a bit of them here printed off at Public Works. We'll get you some.
Okay, thank you.
And so something else that we've talked about doing is maybe making banners that would go in businesses that would like them, and then have the same QR code. So when someone comes in there and say they're over at the Hive and they're getting a haircut and they're waiting to get their haircut, they can, just scan that QR code and they can get all the information about the project while they're sitting there waiting. Or iguanas or something like that, if they'd be willing for us to hang those up in their windows.
Good idea.
Yeah. And then like Steve said, we're going to try to place banners on each corner of the square too, with the information on the project, see our vision. You can scan the code. Yeah, these QR codes are very, very cool deal. And yet, like he said, Amber came up with this for, I'm pretty sure that Sam and Brooke have used these in the past. They're always ahead of us when it comes to technology, it seems like, communicating with the public. So Amber brought us up to speed. So we're very excited. So the next step in 2021 is to put all the pretty stuff down, the curbs, sidewalks, pavement, the icing on the cake. And that bid should go out end of March, early April. And once we get those back, hopefully at the end of April, and those come back good, we've been getting very competitive bids. And we hope to continue getting those competitive bids. But we've also made contingencies in case those bids don't come back exactly the way we want them. So this, if you would, Exhibit A is our wish list. And then we've kind of, like I said, depending on the bids, if they get worse, we're going to scale this project back. Hopefully we don't have to, but you can see as I scroll through these, this is everything we want to do, and then just kind of goes into Exhibit B and then breaks down to C. So this is kind of our base package, if you will. If our bids come back high, this is our goal then to at least get this done. If they come back really good and we can get everything done, that is it. It goes all the way to Hall Street. And you can see, I'm sure Jeremy has showed these in the past, but you can see everything that we really, truly want to get downtown done. The big thing with this second phase and getting communication or getting out the communication to the public and the business owners of the square is transitioning the square to one way. That's something that, it's been that way forever. And we're going to have to break that habit. So what we're planning on doing is, like we said, the QR codes, getting as much stuff like that information, videos on social media. We're going to come in and paint the existing pavement one way. It's going to go counterclockwise. And the way we're going to achieve this is once we get a start date, we're going to pick a weekend because we feel like the weekends are the best time for the square. They're not as busy because of all the, government buildings and everything. Come in, stripe, put as much signage up, and make that transition through a weekend. We are going to borrow signs from MoDOT, those electric signs, place them along 3rd Street, notifying everybody that's driving up and down 3rd Street that the square will become one way on this day, things like that. So just getting as much information out to the public as we can. And something like this, there's no such thing as too much information. And here's again, another way the parking is going to lay in the one way along the square. So,
Hey, John, this is Nathan. I got a question for you.
yeah.
When you go to one way, particularly right there at, what is that, church, I guess, you're going to funnel a lot of cars out that way. Is there any concerns about that intersection just getting backed up or overwhelmed?
So,
or not church, I guess. Yeah, it is church right there. Yeah.
Right here?
No, up north one. What is that one's not church. I'm blank. What's iguana on, John?
Oh, that's Church Street.
Yeah, church. It is church. Okay. Yeah. So does that intersection there at Church and 3rd end up becoming problematic?
So if anything, really, it should eliminate some of the traffic as one way, because the only traffic that will be coming out there is around the square. So you'd have to go all the way around. We don't anticipate these getting any more traffic. If anything, it's going to alleviate some of the traffic. But there's always that means of further down the road improving that intersection. There's a lot of talk of that in the future. And this is something we're just going to have to kind of evaluate as we go to this one way and see how it truly impacts 3rd Street. But right now, we believe that these two legs right here may see less traffic.
Okay.
Any other questions? about the
Yeah,
win-win?
John, it's Rick. I've got a question about parking. I
Yes.
understand the traffic flow and the sequence of making the improvements, but when we first started speaking about this, there was some comments made that it could possibly increase the number of parking spaces. And I would like for you to address that, if you would, just if nothing else, to bring me up to speed. If this is going to be a net change of zero, if it's going to increase parking, decrease, and what the prospects may be of increasing with
Yeah.
partnerships with landowners.
Yeah. So I do not have, there was a slide with parking on there. I apologize. I don't have that slide on here. And now as far as the around the square, when we first started looking at this, depending on the angle, we thought we may get, 2 to 3 additional spots on the square. But as far as the overall downtown, we have a parking plan that would get us, Jeremy, you may help me out here. I thought it was around 30 different parking spots
We're
for
at 30,
downtown.
36 right now.
36. So now that won't be all on the square, but that is in the downtown area. And like I said, I don't have that. I can email you that, Mayor, if you'd like.
Well, I would like to see it, and I'd like to see it again. I know it exists, but I'd also like to know if those parking spots that are outside the square are going to be automatic when all of this is done, or if they are going to entail some agreements with landowners to let us use some of their land for parking.
Well, so we've looked into that, Mayor. There is some places that we have enough right of way where we can obtain more parking spots without having to work with the landowner, not taking anyone's land or asking for easement or right of way.
Right.
So we are going to get some additional spots. There was some possibilities of relocating some electrical and getting some additional spots that way. But the cost of relocating the electric is so expensive, we don't know if it justifies the cost. You may get 5 spots and you're going to spend $50,000 in relocating electrical. So there is some missed opportunities there. That's unfortunate, but like Jeremy said, 38 spots is what we have right now without obtaining any land or spending an abundant amount of money relocating electric.
Well, let me ask you a more specific question. I know that there are landowners like Brad Jackson's corner lot there that would be good candidates for this. Is there something that could be done to approach them, or me approach him, or are there other pieces of land like that would be good candidates for an expansion of parking that we could approach?
Yeah, Jeremy and I have talked about talking to Brad about that and seeing what they'd be willing to do, and it would only really provide his business more parking. There is some other spots where we could approach the landowners on Church Street that we've looked at, but they have retaining walls. And again, even if they were willing to allow us to take some of that of their yard and give us some right of way, the cost of redoing the sidewalks and the retaining walls and things like that, again, the cost to us outweighs the number of parking spots that you're going to obtain.
Oh, I agree that there are going to be places where you could increase, where the cost would not be make it worthwhile. But in places like Brad, I just wondered if that was going to be something you could approach. If I could need any assistance to you or what, I just know that is a really good example. That even if his family used all those spaces, it would free up a bunch of them there on the corner. So
yeah, and we do have a plan that a concept of what it would look like if he was to allow us to obtain some of that land, and we just need to approach him on that.
Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor. The only thing with as it relates to Mr. Jackson, just remember, I think it's a great idea. I'm not criticizing the idea or anything, but just remember some years ago with the prior board that I was on, he was wanting to do a 353 or something or another to build a parking lot, and we told him absolutely no. So unfortunately, I think I was the only one that voted yes on that one, if I remember correctly. But just be aware of that in the back of your mind if you're approaching him. Just be aware that again, a prior board had told him no to doing some parking that he wanted to do several years ago.
Yeah, my own personal opinion on that is he's probably still favorable to it. He may not be, but I think he is. That prior board was a prior board, and we all know the politics there. Jeremy?
Oh, no, yeah, I agree. That's what I agree. Like I said, I think, if I remember right, I think I was the only one that voted to let him do it, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's a different board, and he's aware of that, so.
Jeremy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say really quickly, and John's probably going to hit on this a little bit more, but we are at every HRD meeting, Historic River District meeting. Brad sits on the same board that I do. He gets updated on this project as much or at least as much as we have with the Board of Aldermen, because HRD has been so critical in being our liaison to the community. So Brad and I have talked a lot about this. As John said, we're in the design phase right now. There are some opportunities there. We're just doing the cost benefit analysis.
Okay.
But Brad, the point is Brad is in what we're doing and we're keeping him up to speed. So.
Great. Well, I may have been premature, but I just needed to ask the question. Thank you. Go ahead, gentlemen.
So, so everything that's going on downtown, like Jeremy was getting ready to talk about the HRD, or he did talk about HRD. The most important thing with a project like this and where it's located and the importance of our historic downtown is communication. So through door hangers, through working with other organizations like HRD and getting in contact with business owners and letting them know, shooting videos, getting with Sam and Brooke, getting as much information on social media. We believe that just the project is going very smoothly and we want to keep it going very smoothly. And that's getting as much information out to the public and in the right manner as we move forward. I think that the next year is going to be stressful to say the least, and there's going to be a lot of growing pains, and I guarantee that there will not be.
No, I didn't get to see it closed.
There will be some people that's a little upset about it, and we understand it. We just need to work with them best we can. But when the project's over, I think it's helped us. It's just, we promised this to the community. We saved this project for last with the transportation sales tax because we knew it was such a big project and we knew that it was going to mean so much to the community. And we're very excited about it. And if you guys have any ideas of how to get more information out to the public and what we can do as we move into phase 2, we'd be happy to hear them. And we're just very excited about this project. So if anybody has any other questions or comments.
Hey, John,
Yeah.
I do real quick. The utilities, did we ever get Liberty to bury some power on the square? Or are they still going to leave all those lines running overhead?
So we've worked with Liberty and met with them many, many times. The problem with the utilities on the square is there's a lot of main lines. And by what I mean by mains is it carries all the major power right through the heart of downtown. And you can't just bury that section of it. You have to start all the way back to the beginning of that main and work your way through it because of safety reasons. And just, I think they have a rule in place that they just cannot do half a main. It has to be completely underground. And that drives the cost way up. So is there some small sections that are feeder lines that may take down 200 feet of electric and feed, 3 or 4 houses? There's some possibilities there, and we are working with Liberty to get that, find ways to do that. But right now, the main lines that you see with the big transformers, the cost is just very high. And not to say we're not still looking at it, but it's just, that's a large thing to tackle. So,
is there anything we can do now to make the burying of power lines simple in the future?
So we talked with Liberty about that as well, as putting conduit under the roads and things like that to prepare us for that when it happens. And they informed us that really there's no way to prepare for it because they really don't know how they're going to do it. So we may be putting all that conduit under the road, and for not, it'd be a waste of money. So it doesn't mean that we can't come back in later and bore some stuff and still not impact the roadways. It may drive up the cost a little bit more, but yeah, putting conduit underground and getting everything set for that when we really don't know how we're going to tackle it, it may be a waste of money. It's kind of the way it was informed me from Liberty.
So does that mean, John, that that you're definitely not going to do it, or you're still thinking about it? And when does that decision have to be made?
Well, I think the overall plan eventually is to get all the electrical underground, but I mean, who knows how long that could take? That could be years down the road.
Jeremy?
Yeah, real quick, we are still having a lot of active conversations with staff, and we happen to have some people on our board of aldermen too that are very well versed in the electric utility industry. And we are in the process right now. We're actually supposed to meet in the next couple of weeks to identify that low-hanging fruit. John's got a background in electricity. We've also got RJ, and we've been given kind of a base map that shows the electric utilities in the area. The goal is to go in and, while we have these streets torn up, identify areas where we can put that conduit in. And if this, if it doesn't get right of way or get done right of way, at least we have something in the ground that in the future we can pull wire through. And it's all about just prioritizing and identifying where those projects can be done. So.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
I want to answer Heather's question directly, because I know that anybody that asks Heather or any of the other board aldermen about this, they're going to want a direct answer. I would say that the burying of power lines in this project is highly unlikely to happen. There's no time for it. There's not a right away. We don't have the funding, and Liberty has no interest. So you don't have to go into those details, but I would say that we're doing everything we can to prepare for the future. But as a part of this project, without the full support of our electric company, the lines will not get buried.
Okay, and I understand that, Steve. I think, keep moving forward, hopefully, right? And then, I know there's a lot of projects going on, but we can't be a city 10 years from now that has power lines just running overhead. We at some point, we have to recognize how silly that is. We can't have power go down in the city every time the wind blows or it snows. It seems a little odd to me that a bunch of elected officials have to tell a power company that it's a bad idea to do this, but that's where we are. So I just want to make sure that as we're moving forward with this, that we continue to look into the future and say, hey, if we can't do this today, then what are we going to do about it tomorrow? Are we going to put conduit into the ground? Is solar a possibility? What else is out there? Nothing's off the table. How do we address that?
And I assure you, we are doing that, and that's it. That we staff is on the exact same page you are, and we feel the exact same way you do. But we all know what we're up against at the moment. But we are definitely thinking that way, Alderman Poston. We definitely are.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say that conduit is the answer, and we're doing everything we can to make that happen. So, but that's preparation for what we might be able to do in the future.
So do I understand that you are putting something in the ground now, so later we can do that, or is not?
There is that we can put, but I don't think that right now, with the funding and the determination of what may or may not happen downtown, we can't take care of all the conduit under all the roadways because we don't know exactly where it's going to happen. There may be some feeder lines where we can plan for those because we know how they're going to lay, but these may change completely. So
at the present time with this project, we are not trying to do anything to put the power underground.
We're trying, but to no avail. We have no authority over that whatsoever. Yeah, Liberty is not interested at all in burying any of the lines, and says the cost would be 100% on us, and it would be multiple millions of dollars. And that's the answer we got. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just real quick, Heather, we back to trying. We are trying, and we're identifying those areas. They can't stop us from putting conduit in the ground. But we've got to make wise decisions about spending those extra costs to put those conduits in the ground. We've got a game plan. We know that the ground's going to be completely ripped open. So effectively, the only cost would be the conduit that you're putting in there and the bedding. But we've got to make sure that we don't put that in there for no reason whatsoever. We got to make sure it makes sense based upon the utility drawings that the limited utility drawings that we've been given by Liberty. We are going to try our best. I can promise you that. There's not 3 more people in this town. Well, there's several people in this town, but I can assure you between Steve, John, and I, we'd put it all underground if we could. I promise you.
So, yeah, I understand that we're all would like to have it happen. I'm just not clear on if you're going to put the conduit while we're doing this project or not. I know you're thinking about it, but are you doing it? No? Yes?
Jeremy was talking about low hanging fruit. What John was saying is that there may be some opportunity to maybe put some conduit in some places that have feeder lines, meaning maybe from on a private piece of property from the main line to a building or something. But what Empire has also told us is if you put conduit in the ground, we will not use it. We will not use your conduit, even if you put it in the ground. Sorry, that isn't the way we're going to do it. It has to be ours, or we won't use your conduit. So even though we come to the table and said, hey, we think this is a great opportunity while we have all this ripped up, we still have gotten no.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
And Heather, something else that when this project first started, we had a meeting with all the other utilities, Spire Gas, CenturyLink, SuddenLink, Liberty, and made them aware that we're going to tear everything up, and now would be the time to get as much underground as we could. And we had them all look at situations where they could go in and get it fixed right now, like what we're doing with our utilities. And Liberty is a tough, we meet with them at least twice a year about getting stuff downtown underground, to the point where whenever I call Eric Ponder or Jeremy or Steve calling about it, I'm sure he rolls his eyes because he gets so sick of us pushing and pushing for this. So we're definitely looking at it and trying our hardest to get that accomplished. We know how well that would make everything look downtown, and we want to keep going that route. So we are trying. We're trying very hard. So, any other questions?
Bruce.
When does not that this relates at all to this discussion, but when does the franchise agreement expire with Liberty?
2024.
4 years.
Huh?
4 more years.
And when is the time that you negotiate with them? Is that the year before?
Now, let's see. Yeah. I don't want to elaborate on this too much, but let's just say that I am continuously researching with our city attorney all of our opportunities as it pertains to this topic. I have been the last year and will continue to do so as we move forward. So,
Sorry.
Thank you.
That sounds very, very good.
Good.
All right. Thank you for understanding. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for understanding.
All right. You done, Mr. McCarter, or you have more?
Yeah, that's all the information I had. Is there any more questions or thoughts?
Any questions from the board?
I have nothing else.
You what?
Oh, I thought you asked me if I had any questions for the board. I'm sorry. You were asking them if they had any questions.
Yeah, that's all right. John has nothing else. Any more questions from the board? If not, we'll move on to the next topic.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, Jeremy and John. Okay, Mr. Childers, budget.
I don't have any fancy slides. We're not there yet. I will tell you that we are working on the budget, but certainly COVID has made it a more difficult process for us. you know, before you start planning 2021, you got to know where you're going to end up in 2020. And figuring out where you're going to end up in 2020 has been a bit of a challenge. So I just wanted to give you a few highlights. And this is where we're at. You know, actually, we're still going to always, just as we always have, we'll always budget conservatively. We will project our revenues conservatively, and we will do the same with our expenditures. You will get to see those, of course, and we still want to have the meetings, even if they're on Zoom, with each one of you, if you want to have those. When we do get there, we're just running a little bit behind, so it probably won't be until later in November. But I will tell you that the good news is that we have not seen a significant dip in our sales tax revenue. I think people are shopping local, and I think it's made a difference. I think our neighborhood Walmart now with their pickup, I can tell you, I know people that were leaving Ozark to go to Nixa to get their groceries, and that isn't happening anymore. We should be able to figure, Sean says, the manager at Walmart, that when they're fully up and running, they will hire 50 more people that will do nothing all day but fill online orders here for pickup in Ozark, and they'll probably do 250 of those a day. And that's awesome. And so that's a really good thing. I also want to bring attention to, you know, people ask me all the time, why do you think that is? I got to tell you, we've kind of balanced ourselves. You know, Christian County Discount Grocery. I don't know if any of you go out there, but wow, what an amazing business model that individual has. I mean, it is a booming grocery store. There are people, 12 and 15 people deep in those lines every minute of every day that they're open. We just got a new Overstock store, an Amazon Overstock store that came in across the street where Groovy Automotive used to be. I don't know what that's called.
Fall River.
Fall River or something. And we've got a new Taco Bell coming in. We've got a new Popeyes coming in. We've got some new stuff, and I think that's balanced us out. And so for the year, we're actually doing pretty good right now. We're at 7.55% above last year. So we're hanging on, and I hope that continues. That's not to say that I don't still think we need to put in place for the long term a use tax. I think that's extremely important for the longevity and sustainability of our town, but we're doing okay. So we're getting with all the department heads, we're figuring out where we think we're going to end up. Our transportation bids this year came in wonderful. I mean, we came in under budget. That allowed us to be able to be secure and going into next year saying, man, this downtown project, we can really do it the way we wanted to do it, and be able to have that and carry those funds over. So I think that we're doing pretty good. The Missouri gas tax, as you probably well know, travel has not been that high. So the Missouri gas tax revenue has come in lower, but overall it's, only down about 2%. So we're tracking well there also. We don't stand the risk of losing our existing vehicle out-of-state sales tax until November of 2022, which is after hopefully our renewal of the next transportation sales tax. So we got some time, but we definitely need to think about that in the future. So 2020, we're doing okay. I don't think we have many big scale expenditures left, but I will say this for the end of that. There's two things that's unique about 2020. One is COVID. The Christian County CARES Committee received $10.3 million from the stimulus bill. They have $7.3 million left. My understanding, they need to obligate and or spend that money before the end of the year. I assure you, we are submitting applications, as many as legitimately possible, to seek reimbursement from any COVID direct related expenses. We have received payment from the CARES Committee for that has helped out, for additional hours we've had to spend, and for those people who may have been off but are still being paid during their time that they had to be quarantined or whatever that is. So that has been a help to us to be able to offset those costs or reimburse those costs. So we will continue to look for all and any opportunity to submit those applications to the CARES committee. So we're doing that. We're always on top of that. We also remember we switched insurance companies this year, and that saved us 13% overall. That was over a $200,000 savings. So that was a huge deal for us. We will, going into 2021, we always know there's going to be an increase, and we budget for a 10% increase. I don't expect to have a 10% increase, whether in health or liability or property or any of it, but we do that because we budget conservatively, so that if we come under, great, we did a good job. The other unique thing about 2020 is we kind of had one of those payroll leap years. If you don't know what a payroll leap year is, that means that we had 27 pay periods in 2020. We will not have another 27 pay periods for 9 more years. So we're going to go back to 26 pay periods. That's a good thing for the budget. You have one less pay period, and it makes a big difference, as you well probably all know. So that's going to be a positive going into 2021. So those are the big things. We just want to say we appreciate your leadership and your foresight on understanding all the plans that we brought forward. We realize the sewer master plan, which is a long time coming, was an enormous undertaking. We did it. It's out there. You guys are adjusting the rates accordingly to allow us to implement that plan. And now you're discussing the other part of it, which is correcting the connection fees. And I know that will come with more discussion, but that's the kind of thing that now we have the data, and now we have Ozark by the numbers, and we can make these intelligent, educated decisions and feel comfortable about those. So we will be getting back together with you guys. Those are just some of the high points of the budget. I just wanted you to know that we're working on it. We'll probably end up having our 2020 budget end of year projections by the end of this week, if not middle of next week. So I'll be reaching out to you probably the first week in November, so we can have some Zoom calls if you want to go through any your liaison department or anything like that. One more thing that we are trying to do, just to let you know, we've got some different property things that are going on. We have re-signed lease with the Public Funding Corporation and the LCRA and the downtown land. But again, we talked to the bank, and after we make our November payment, which is on November 8th, we will request from them a payoff. And we anticipate that the payoff, or at least they have told us in writing, that they think the payoff, it may be even less than the amount of money that we have in escrow, pledged as collateral in the form of a CD. So when we go into 2021, if we use the CD to pay off that note, we don't have to budget $423,000 out of general fund to make those payments. And that is an excellent, that really helps us out a lot. We also have the opportunity of looking at modifying Brick Street building. What I mean by that is the church that we used to lease to has now vacated that spot, which will now allow our municipal court and our police to expand. So, you know, we didn't get the use tax passed. We weren't able to look forward to building some new facilities, but we're going to make the best with what we got, and we're going to improve those things. And we think there may even be some COVID-related expenses in there, because what we're doing with municipal court is trying to do our very best to design that in a way that we separate our employees from the citizens that have to come in, and therefore allow for them to pay without coming into the building or do different things. And so we've got a really exciting project to be able to help our municipal court and our police department next year, if we can just find the money to do that. So anyway, those are my highlights. We'll get back together with you guys. Things are going good, and I just want to say at the end of this that the city of Ozark couldn't have a better staff. You guys are so fortunate to have these people working for you and doing this stuff. They are amazing. They're amazing. That's all I have.
All right. Well, we're about done. The only COVID update is that we're all still alive. And there is, I have heard, I've not seen it, but I've been told that there is a peaceful protest on the square Saturday morning at 10. So if you're looking for something to do, you might either go or stay away. But that's all I've got. Any comments or questions from the board? All right, then we will hear a motion to adjourn.
Thank you all very much for being here this morning.
All right, Smith and Galloway to adjourn. Thank you.